All right, welcome back to Thompson to Clark. Brad Evans here. I think now I say this, and then we're going to be fine, and we're going to have this long show. But the Giants news this week was few and far between.
No, but we're getting a lot of really fun World Baseball Classic stuff starting to kind of trickle in. So that always and I mean, yeah, this show's about the Giants, but we love baseball, and
Yep.
there's Giants players in the World Baseball Classic. There's former Giants players managing in the World Baseball Classic.
Yep.
So, so it's fun. So it all kind of ties in. It's baseball and it's January, and I could smell it. We're getting that close.
Yeah, we have a former Giant who is first time managing, and he is the coach of Team USA here. So that's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting. I was looking at, and we'll save this for our last topic because I really want to dig in on the World Baseball Classic. I can't imagine, or not that I can't imagine, but this is the fifth one. That's
Yeah.
amazing
Yes.
to me.
And it's been what, 6 years since the last one because of COVID and everything
Yeah,
else. So I know we were talking about it yesterday, and you're like, I don't really remember it. The last World
I don't
Baseball Classic.
remember last year's, like not or
Yeah,
last times.
the
I don't
last time,
remember it
but
that much.
it was 6 years ago. That's why. I mean, it was so long ago, and it's so short too. I mean, the Team USA went on to win the entire thing, and they only played 8 games. So
Yeah,
I mean it's over in like 3 weeks. So if
yeah,
you're not paying attention, if you're not looking at it, if you're not watching every game, it's like, especially the games over in Asia, because those games are on at what 2 o'clock in the morning.
yeah.
We're too old for that, so we're not watching those games. We're waking up in the morning and catching like the last inning or two of the games over there. But yeah.
Yeah, so I went. I think I've mentioned this before. I went in 2013, and it was Japan against Puerto Rico. I believe it was in the semifinal because I think Puerto Rico went on to play in the championship game, but I think they lost to the Dominican. Maybe is that right? I think so.
You know what? I pulled up all of the stats and everything. Well, I don't know what I did with it, but anyways, I had all the
We'll
winners.
find it. We'll find it, and
Yeah.
we'll save it for the last segment. But just to let you know, so since it was Team Japan and they were losing, I tried to find a way to bust out the photo or the GIF of Karate Kid 2 with Mr. Miyagi and the taiko drum, like to try and inspire Team Japan to make a comeback and to win the
That's
game.
classic.
But I will say it is an experience that is a lot different than seeing your favorite major league team because the country aspect of it is really interesting and the cultural aspect of it is really interesting. You saw
Yeah.
tons of like Puerto Rican flags around what used to be AT&T, now Oracle Park, and yeah, just the cheering was even different, right? Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the sound was even different. So it's cool. Now I wonder because I think they only drew like what was it like 25,000 per game or something the last time. And I wonder if that helps, like just being away for 6 years now. I wonder if that helps drive the live crowds up or not, or maybe not. Maybe it's still going to be a little on the light side. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll save that talk for the last
Yeah.
segment here because we do have a
Yeah.
few Giantsy things to get through. And the first one being Marco Luciano's health. Now, when we talked about the prospects last year, I think I read the quote from Melissa Lockhart about Luciano's back. Like even his offseason plans were hindered by the back injury that caused him to not play as many games last year as I'm sure the Giants would have hoped, and he would have hoped as well. And in his winter league, he only played 5 games because of the back injury. And so he did an interview with MLB Pipeline, and I'm using the McCovey Chronicles post here, written by one Brian Murphy, not the same KMBR Brian Murphy, different Brian Murphy, but he did a little bit of transcribing of the injury issue that Luciano was discussing. And so a couple of the quotes. So he asked about his back and said, you missed half the season because of your back. How does that affect you, and how's your recovery been? And Marco said, it affects you a lot. For example, I love playing ball, and what I like is to enjoy it. When you have an injury, it's not the same because you don't enjoy the game the same way. You're way more worried about the pain than other things. And now when you're healthy, you can see how beautiful the game is, enjoy it, and have fun. And so then he asked him about Luciano, if that was the real Luciano last year. And he said, last year when I started the season, I started out really well because I felt good. But then the pain started, it wasn't the same. I was hanging in there, but it wasn't the same anymore because I was playing in a little pain. And then finally he asked him, we're 3 weeks from spring training. What's the latest on your back right now? He said he still doesn't have a date set to start hitting, but he imagines it will be soon. I really do feel good, and I'm working well to come back healthy. So my main takeaway with that discussion is A, back injuries are super tricky, and B, he didn't sound super confident that like things were going to be a-okay come spring training. And it could have been just the conversation, which was done in Spanish, I believe, but like he wasn't adamantly like, oh, I feel great, I'm ready to bounce back. He was like, no date set, but I feel good. So they're a little bit safe there with his explanation. And not that this is a year in which Luciano really needs to excel and get to the next level. Like, he's still young enough to where they have time with him. But I think because of the pressures of the off season and everything, there's going to be some circles around guys like Luciano and Harrison and Casey Schmidt about getting to that next level and helping the team. Because as we've seen, the guys that we're trying to get over here to help the team, we haven't been successful. So the other way is to get these farm guys in. What'd you think about Luciano's remarks about his back?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I watched the interview, and like you said too, yeah. But the other thing too, it is kind of mid January. I guess it's late January now, but it's kind of mid January when the interview was done. So I'm not too terribly worried about his enthusiasm at this point. I'm just really more concerned about, you and I know very well, but we're also old guys, that back injuries kind of stick with you for a long time. It's not something that just kind of goes away and doesn't have a chance of coming back. I don't know what kind of back injury it is. If it's a muscle injury, what do they call them? Musculoskeletal. If it's a muscle injury, then maybe there's good hope on the horizon for that. If it's a vertebrae type of injury, some sort of bone on bone injury, that could be an issue going forward. But again, just total speculation. I'm really, really excited to see, because this will be basically, what is it? The third year after COVID of a full minor league season. And with no, although the lockout didn't really play a part in it because minor league baseball was going to go on without a hitch last year anyways. So it's kind of that third season. Now it's time to see guys start to shine, start to progress, start to make it to that next level, start to show that promise that we've been looking for. But I really don't think the back injury is something to worry about going forward. I'm not a doctor, but I know that, from what he was saying, he just hasn't started swinging yet. I think it's probably a little too early for him to start swinging anyways in mid-January. But I think by the middle of February, he'll be swinging the bat. Things will look good. He'll start the season as if nothing happened and just kind of move on from there.
Yeah, and I think the Giants will be very conservative with him. Obviously, you don't want a young player to have a back injury, and the word about him is that he's gonna have the frame to put on size, so he'll probably get a little bit bigger, and so he's gonna have to make sure that he takes care of the back because he's gonna be adding more weight, more size, and to his frame. So he's just got to do what you and I do. Is we feel that back tweak, and then we go, oh, got to go do some yoga today.
Yeah,
That's what he's got to
exactly.
do.
More yoga, Marco. More yoga. That's what we can tell you from experience. But yeah, like you said, they are going to be conservative with him. One thing I took from the interview for sure was that he likes to have fun, and that's what we talked about. We're talking about the World Baseball
The
Classic,
joy.
talking about
Yeah, the joy.
the joy, the fun. You know, the baseball is fun when you're healthy. When you're not healthy, it's a grind. It's tough. And that's a mental aspect of the game. It's 162 games. You're not always going to have an injury that's going to put you on the injured list. It may make it so you play 3 out of every 5 games or 3 out of every 6 games. But it's something you have to manage, not just physically, but mentally. And being a young guy, the Giants organization, I'm sure, will work on that and say, look, you know, when you're injured, there's a mental aspect to it. There's a mental well-being that we need to keep you under to make sure that you can get through this injury, progress, keep a positive attitude, and come out the other end of it and just start playing ball again. And I know the Giants will work on that.
Yeah. All right. So another thing that happened, and this is just now, it's tangentially related to the Giants, but it did have a small effect when it comes to their bottom line, which is Tommy La Stella, who was Farhan's first signee of more than a 2-year contract, I believe, right? Was La Stella the first 3-year guy?
3-year contract. Yeah,
Yeah, he
3-year
was the
contract.
first 3-year guy for the Giants in the Zadie reign. And as we know, they let him go. They needed a spot on the 40-man, and La Stella had about a half of a season's worth of play. And I'm guessing they didn't think that he was going to be much better, or maybe they would have figured out a way to keep him. But they let him go. They designated him for assignment, and the Seattle Mariners picked him up. I believe it was on Friday. Now, the only part of this that really affects us is in the monetary aspect of this, because the Giants, when they designated him, they were on the hook for $11.5 million. And I know the hope here from fans is that, oh, did the Mariners sign him for $10 million? Well, no, of course not. They signed him for the league minimum of $720,000. So that cuts the Giants' bill down to $10.78 million. It's not like this is really going to have an effect on them. They are under the tax, and I don't believe that they're adding more salary. Now, they could if they made a trade, but as it is now, I think the Giants are under the tax, so they are fine with making this payment, telling Tommy La Stella, we're going to pay you $10 million to go away. You know, now that we've sort of looked back on La Stella, and he was really like the first guy that Zadie's sort of style of the type of player that he likes, and unfortunately, we never got to see it, but not a good defender, more of an on-base guy, you know, not necessarily fast, a fleet of foot as well, but it was really like, okay, this guy gets on base, he has a good eye, he has long counts, he fouls the ball off, you know, he doesn't really strike out. Like, that was how La Stella was sold to us. And when you look back on it, it's like, great, but he didn't do any of those things for the Giants. So kind of a bummer, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there a Tommy La Stella memory? Like how are you going to remember or think of Tommy La Stella in his 2-year stint with the Giants?
You know, there was one game in Milwaukee in 2021 during the 107 game season where he hit a ball to right field, and the right fielder had a really tough time with it, hit up against the fence. Giants scored a couple runs, took the lead. They really needed that game in Milwaukee because Milwaukee was also top of the league when it came to pitching. Same with the Giants. So the Giants went in there and took it to Milwaukee and kind of showed everybody that, hey, this is who we are. The Giants are for real. And so I remember that game. It was a great hit. Other than that, I don't remember much, honestly. You know, with the Giants, he played in 136 games, had an on-base percentage of 297. His career on base percentage is 337. So when you look at 297 with the Giants, well below his career average. His OPS plus, um, he's played in 9 seasons. 4 of those seasons, had an OPS plus of under 100. 2 of those were with the Giants. Not sitting here bashing on Tommy La Stella, but it just, you know what? I was very excited about this on
Yeah,
the show
I
when we
remember
signed him.
we had a
Yeah,
conversation about it on this show. One of the
I love
early
on
episodes,
base.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, and I'm a huge on base guy. I love it. He was a great piece to the puzzle. And because of injuries, we just never got to see it. And that's the unfortunate part of the game. It just happened. Um, and the Giants needed to move on, get younger this year. He had his shot, but injuries kind of took that away from him. He's going to be what, 34 this season. The Giants have been wanting to get younger. So it's tough. I really, really hope he has a great season in Seattle. Again, closet Mariners fan. I love to watch the Mariners because they're also a 7 o'clock game. So if you and I, we have what's the thing? MLB.TV. So we get that every year. So I like to flip around. So when the Giants go to commercial, I'll flip over and just kind of check out, see how the Mariners are doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope he has a great season, and he could be a really good piece of the puzzle there as well, because they also have a good team. They're close to the playoffs last year. Actually, they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
They just didn't fare well in the first round, but they got there. So
And they got one of the most exciting players in the entire game right now.
Well, absolutely.
That's my. If a couple of people have asked me, I think Bry and some of the other guys who play the show, they asked me like who should be on the cover, and I was like, it's got to be J-Rod. Like he's the young stud. Like let's put J-Rod on the cover, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to go with him. And I've seen mock-ups of the cover too, and he's on the cover. And I know when the cards were coming out, when we were playing MLB the Show last year, anytime his card came out, everybody was like, "Oh!" And you watched his. I think he started out as like a 78 or a 79. By the end of the season, he was like a 92, 93.
Yeah.
Just had a phenomenal year. He's going to have a fantastic career in Seattle. So,
by the way, when are we going to get some information about the new show coming out?
Oh, who knows? I'm busy playing Madden from 2 years ago and NHL 22 from 2 years. I play the old games, man. I don't want to buy the new games. I don't like to spend $60 on games unless it's the show.
Yeah.
Or like something really, really like I gotta have that game.
But... Yeah, and then you bought the couple years ago version of NBA 2K, and then they said, "Oh, by the way, we're not supporting this game anymore."
That was cool. And that was after having it for like 3 weeks. I had no idea that happened in that game. So is that they do that every year?
I thought it was more. I thought it was more on like a 3 or 4 year sunsetting, but I didn't know it was so quick. Yeah,
this was 2 years, and how cheap of a bastard I am. I took that game, bought it for $4 on Amazon. I did the return on Amazon. I brought it back to Kohl's where you can drop them off. I got my $4 back. Man.
There you go.
I was like, come on, man, you're not going to cheat me out of this.
I know. You mentioned MLB TV, and I don't know how closely you follow the sports media side of things, but these RSNs like NBC Sports Bay Area is a regional sports network, and Bally's has a bunch of them under the Bally umbrella. And because of the way cable works today and how the streaming is kind of going up and then the cable is going down as far as subscribers, these regional sports networks are losing money, and so it's kind of the lifeblood of the MLB, right? Is how do you watch your local games? Well, you watch them on these local sports networks, these regional sports networks. And from what I understand, MLB is trying to figure out how to show the product, how to sell the product to people who may be locally but don't have cable. Like that's a problem, right? Like if you are a local fan and you're like, oh no, I don't want to have cable. Well, you could do like me, and you can have Hulu Live, and I think YouTube Live is similar, where you get the regional sports network as a part of your plan.
Yeah.
But there are other people who go, "Oh, I just want to subscribe to Netflix and Apple TV and maybe one of these other ones, Amazon Prime or whatever, right? And that's it, Disney Plus." And with those, you don't have that opportunity to add on this regional sports network channel to watch your game. So this is an interesting thing that MLB is going to have to deal with. The NBA will have to figure out how to deal with it as well. NFL is a little different because they're still very much a local broadcast sport. Like, I watch if the 49ers game is on, say, Amazon Prime, they will show that Amazon Prime feed on the whatever the local affiliate is that they show it on. So that there are, because football's a little bit different, they have that solution. But yeah, if I don't know what happens if you lose this local sports network stuff, and how MLB it's kind of designed to build off of these local teams. So that's going to be an interesting conundrum for them.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, and everybody says this, the blackout rules, especially in baseball, really, really need to be revisited again, because we're talking. I mean, the blackout rules were there because they wanted to get people to the games.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, if you can't, you've got to watch the local commercials then. If you're not if you're in the area and the game's not sold out, you got to go to the game. We want you at the game. If not, you're going to be here and you're going to watch the local. I mean, we're going back to like, Paul from the Diamond Center, right? I mean, that's
well, and to kind of back up what you're saying, when we were younger, throughout the mid 80s, in order for us to watch the Giants, we could only watch the road games.
yes.
So if the Giants were in Houston, then we could watch the road broadcast. But if they were at home, because of what you just said with the blackout, we could only listen to them on the radio.
Yeah.
And so I think it was I want to say it was the early 90s, cable started to sell packages where you could watch Giants home games. I don't think it was all of them. It was like an assortment of games.
It was a Giants Vision, right?
Giants Vision.
Yeah.
And then at some point in I want to say it's like 92, 93-ish time frame, whatever the sports channel or whatever our local Bay Area regional sports network was called back then started showing the home game. So, I want to say it was 93, because I clearly remember watching Bonds' first home game with the Giants, and he hit a jack.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have been able to watch that otherwise. So that's my memory.
I was at that game. That's how I saw that.
Was that the Marlins?
That was the Marlins. Yeah, that was the Marlins' first game too. And I remember there was what was his name? There was a Posey in center field too. So I always remember back to that, because I loved center fielder. So, at that time I played center field, so I followed like every center fielder on every team because I wanted to see how fast they were, and how quickly they got to the ball. But yeah, Giants Vision was 86 to 89.
Okay.
So it only lasted 3 years, and then it was replaced by Sports Channel Bay Area.
There we go.
Yeah. So that was the whole thing. And so now we're looking at streaming, and really cable and dish and those types of things still have a stranglehold on the commercial market. So that's where it all comes down. Is the commercial dollars are kind of driving this whole thing still.
Now let me ask you, as a fan of the Sunday Ticket, right? That's the reason why you still had your dish, was the Sunday Ticket. And now the Sunday Ticket is going to be on YouTube. How does that change your television subscription situation?
I've been shopping around. I think we are still under contract for another, 3 or 4 months with DirecTV. So once we're out of contract, that's when you make the call to DirecTV.
Yeah.
And then you say, you guys don't have Sunday Ticket anymore. That's the reason I was here. What kind of deals do you have to keep me around?
Right.
And then they'll send you off to customer retention, and you'll start doing that whole dance. Because I'll keep them rather than going up and removing my dish, sending all of my DVRs back. getting rid of my 4K service, all of that stuff. Rather than doing that, I want to look at how can I stay with them for something that's cost efficient for me.
Sure.
Because being here in Reno, we get the local our local hockey teams are the Sharks and the Golden Knights, and I'm
Nice.
a Vegas Golden Knights fan, so I get those games for free. But as I'm shopping around and looking, what else can I go with? Hulu, YouTube, the other services that stream.
Local cable,
None of
right?
What's that?
You
Yeah,
guys have a
local
local
cable.
cable?
Yeah, but it's not good. There are
What is
many
it? Like
outages.
Charter or
We have
Comcast
Charter.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Charter, but there are a lot of outages. It's a problem. We had it for a few years when we first moved here in the apartment. Didn't care for it. So I'm looking at these other services, but none of them offer Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area and Comcast Sportsnet California and the Vegas channel that we can watch hockey.
Yeah.
But DirecTV does. And DirecTV also has their own streaming service just called DirecTV Stream. And that one, you don't need boxes, you don't need anything else, you don't need a dish. It's just an app you install on, Apple TV,
Sure.
Kindle Fire, all that stuff, Kindle TV, Fire TV, whatever they call it now. So I'm kind of looking into all of that stuff, but I do have my options. But as long as because I keep, my wife's like, can we go to this? Can we go to that? I said, as long as I can get NBC Sports Bay Area, I don't care what else we have other than the hockey. The hockey's nice to have.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to pay for a hockey package. I'm not that big of a hockey fan. I like watching my team. Other games I don't really care about. So yeah, it is definitely going to change. I thought about going to YouTube TV, but you don't need, for Sunday Ticket next year, you don't need to have YouTube TV. You can just get Sunday Ticket as a standalone.
Yes.
So there's that. It's kind of an a la carte choice, but I want to see what the pricing is.
Yeah.
Because if you're a YouTube TV subscriber and you get a really nice price on Sunday Ticket, I want to look into that. And that's going back to MLB TV. I wish they would do something like this where it's like, here's a Giants package. And when we're talking 162 games, you can make fairly decent money off of that. If you said, I don't know, $2 a game, and it's about $300 or so, less than $2 a game. Yeah, $300 for the year. You get all of the Giants games, and we're going to break it out over 6 months of payments. Okay, maybe I would do something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe bring the price down to $150 per team, and you could buy a couple teams a la carte, pick them up, whatever you want to do. But I really think baseball is behind on that. I know Sunday Ticket did that a long time ago when they first launched. You could buy a single team,
yes,
and it was like $80. But football is different because if you're a football fan, you usually want to see all the good games. You want to see every game. But Major League Baseball, if you're a baseball fan, there's plenty of other places. There's ESPN, there's MLB Network, Network TV, Fox Sports, FS1. There's all kinds of places you could watch it. So if you could just pick a team, I think they would be into some pretty good money and then do something with those blackout rules.
Yeah. So I can tell you what the NBA does because they have moved everything to NBA.com. And I wanted to support their move to streaming and everything streaming. Now, they may still have their stuff on cable and DirecTV. I don't know because I've been streaming only for, maybe 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
So
they still do the TNT games and stuff. TBS,
yeah.
TNT. Yeah.
So I pay $20 a month, and I get every game except for the Warriors games, and that's for $20 a month. And I think the idea is they hope to make money off of me when it's the off season as well. They want to keep making the $20 a month off of me. Maybe I forget, or maybe I just like being able to go and watch old stuff, right? Because that's kind of why I wanted to get it too, because my goal was to go through all of the finals from the 2000s and just rewatch all the NBA finals and just see how the game is changing. I've been really slow to doing that, but I could see, I think this is a good test. I think the MLB should really watch what the NBA is doing when it comes to what there's this whole thing. It's called NBA ID, and they want
Oh
to
yeah.
capture your profile and your your fingerprint around the internet for NBA stuff, I think. So it's been good. Now I have a problem with like a lot of the regional broadcasts because they're not selling you, they're selling you a price. So instead of commercials, you just see goofy stuff. And I'm just like, I'd almost
Yeah.
rather see the commercials. Like, just show me commercials and make a few extra bucks off of this thing, because
Oh
these
yeah.
goofy regional sports video packages are like worse. So, but yeah, that's where we're going, right? We're going to some sort of
Yeah.
streaming model. That's where all TV is going to go. Now, the demise of cable has been talked about for years and years and years, and we're still here with cable. It's not, the demise will not happen, in the near
No.
future. It'll still take a while because of how generations work. But yeah, MLB. They should. I think they hired somebody to kind of take hold of this project. So I'm really interested in seeing where they're going. Thankfully, because
Yeah.
I get to watch my Giants. I don't. It doesn't really affect me, but people move. Like,
Oh yeah.
I if I didn't live in the Bay Area, which is a possibility, when my stepkids, get older, I could see us moving out of the area, then I'd need a solution like that because I wouldn't be able to watch my Giants so easily. So
Oh, I can guarantee you, we would not be here in Reno if we couldn't get the Giants. 'Cause that was kind of a caveat in 2003 or 2002 when Yahoo laid off our department. We had been coming up to, there's a place just north of here called Gray Eagle, and it's in the same television network as Reno and everything. So when we would go up to my parents' place up there and hang out for the week, it's up in the woods, it's up in the wilderness. Um, they actually do have some cable run through there in this little woodsy town. But we would watch the Giants games. I mean, this was, the Bonds era and everything else. So I'd sit
yeah,
there and watch Giants games. And so I knew that when it happened and we said, hey, let's move to Reno, we started talking about Reno. I go, oh, that's right, I can get my Giants game. So yes, we can certainly go there.
yeah, great. All right, let's before we talk about our World Baseball Classic, let's talk about the drink. I will
Yeah.
let everybody know that we are both drinking the same thing. At least that was what was supposed to be on the schedule.
That's what happened. Yep.
And I don't know if this drink has an actual name, but I would like to call it the Brad Evans.
Hey, there we go.
Now
Call it my username at work. Call it the Bevins.
the Bevins.
The Bevins.
So, Brad told me about the Trader Joe's bourbon that he gets as like the utility bourbon for mixing. And so my wife went to Trader Joe's. She goes, that's exactly what it is. She goes to Trader Joe's probably like 2 times a week. And so I reminded her, I said, oh, make sure to see if they have that bourbon that Brad was talking about. So she went, and then she asked me what it was called. And I had a moment where I was like, oh man, I don't even remember. And then it just hit me. Like I saved a brain fart. Like it's like you had a brain fart and then you saved it. And you're like,
yes, it was
okay,
there.
I didn't completely forget. And because as you get older, those moments happen more and more. You can't remember things that
I walk into rooms and I stand there and I go, what am I doing here? So yeah, I'm with you.
So she picked it up. I think we have slightly different ginger ales. You're probably using a Zevia ginger ale.
I've got the Zevia. Yeah,
you got the Zevia. I have whatever the Safeway brand is.
Nice.
Ginger ale.
Yeah.
And we mix it together. So I am very happily drinking a very refreshing Bevins.
and it sounds like you're about to say beverage, so I think that's what that works. The Bevins, I like that. Yeah, this stuff is great. I mean, it's as a standalone, and I'm going to try it again tonight. We are watching. I don't know if you've ever watched this, but it's fantastic. Zac Efron has a show on Netflix called Down to Earth.
Oh,
and it's a documentary, and he travels around. The first season, he travels around because it's pre-COVID, and he's got this buddy with him who wrote a book, very famous book. I can't think of it right now. I'll find it in a little bit. but something about power food. But it's all about sustainability and everything else. Anyways, I digress. We're watching that tonight. Second season was during COVID. He was stuck in Australia, so he just brought the whole crew down there, and they shot the second season. It's all about sustainability and eco-friendly stuff in Australia. So it's a very interesting show. But anyways, I'm gonna have another one of these straight tonight. Just like just an ounce of it. It is not the best straight, but I want to try it again.
Maybe I'll do the same thing while we watch.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna try to watch Severance on Apple TV.
Oh, we were gonna start that. I heard it's very different, and I'm into
It's
that,
super dense for the first 2 episodes, and that's where we kind of
Okay.
stopped because then we just started watching something else. But I think
Yeah.
Crystal wants to go back because she keeps hearing that it's great. Hot Take Bry really loved it, so he kind of talked us back into it.
Yes.
So I think we finally don't have the kids this week because they're with their pops, so we can watch
Okay.
something a little bit more adult instead of
Yeah.
having to constantly watch How I Met Your Mother every single night, which is great. But you kind of want a different thing. So
That's right. When the kids
I'll
are
do that too.
around, even though they're teenagers, when they're around, we're like, we'll watch Abbott Elementary, and then we'll,
Yeah.
then we'll go to the room and we'll, put on our stuff. We've got,
Yeah.
some pretty good ones to watch.
So are you going ice or are you going straight?
Yeah, so I started with about that much ice, some little ice cubes. I was going to put an ice ball in it. Is that what you have?
Yeah, that's what I have.
I was,
I have the
yeah, I
sphere.
was going to do that, but yeah, I was in a hurry, so I just put like ice on the bottom. And usually in a pint glass, I can't fill up. I can't do ice, shot of bourbon, and the full can of ginger ale, so I have to kind of add to it as I go. So it always starts out. Yeah, it starts out a little strong, a little strengthy.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
then
you're like, oh. But what about when you have it? We have it by itself tonight. Will you have it?
I'll have one ice cube.
Okay.
I always have just one small ice cube from our fridge. It depends. Sometimes if it's a tougher to drink bourbon, I'll put 2 ice cubes, and then I'll let it let it mellow out a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. Let's talk about the World Baseball Classic here.
Yeah,
so,
right on.
Like I said, it has been around since 2006, which is kind of ridiculous. Now, originally, what was the time frame? They wanted it every 4 years, kind of like the World Cup. Was that the idea?
Yeah, I think it was going to be every 3 years.
Okay.
Because they wanted to mix it because it's baseball. So it's not like, everybody, it's baseball season. Everybody's getting ready. It's pre-start of most country seasons. So I think they wanted to do every 3 years. And then so they did that the first time. And then the next time we went to 4 years. Then it went to 4 years. And now it's 6 because of COVID. Because it would have been 2021. And that would have been a complete mess. You couldn't travel. It was just a total nightmare. So but I think every 4 years is good. 3 years is a little too close because 4 years you get a little bit of a difference in talent. Because the first 2 seasons was only 3 years apart. I think Dice K.
Yeah, he's like the all-time World Baseball.
Yeah, he was the MVP in 2006 and 2009. So I mean, I think they were like, okay, we got to mix this up a little bit. Let these guys get a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah. So the first two champions. So 2006, Japan won. They played that series, that final round at Petco. They beat Cuba. And then in 2009, they came back and won it again. They won it in 10 innings, beating South Korea at Dodger Stadium. And then in 2013, which was the year that I went, and I saw the semifinal. Dominican Republic beat Puerto Rico in the finals, and then Japan came in third, and they beat the Netherlands in the third place game. Japan has finished in first or third in every single World Baseball Classic so far. So shout out to Japan for just showing up for these tournaments. Because in 2017, the one that the U.S. won, U.S. beats Puerto Rico 8-0 in Dodger Stadium, and Japan beats Netherlands again in a rematch of the semifinal game. And so that's where we stand here now, 6 years apart from the last one. one Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford were on the last team, as you could see by our slate, what we opened up our show with. That's their gold medal picture after they clinched the championship there, Buster and Brandon. So what are you looking forward to most about this tournament? Because we are a Giants podcast, but this is like when we were kids and we were so into the All-Star game. This is like an All-Star game tournament, and I don't think it gets enough credit for that, because you're seeing all the best baseball players, not only in Major League Baseball, but around the world, which is fascinating. And I wish, at least in the United States, I wish the MLB did a better job of marketing that aspect to the fans, because fans are anticipating baseball around March. It's spring training. We're kind of getting ready. So to thrust like really good baseball in front of fans in March should be fantastic, because we're ready. We're ready to watch the real thing. And you're getting even almost better than the real thing, at least when it comes to competition you are. So I don't know. I just feel like this thing should be a little bit bigger than it is.
Yeah, I think it's tough because baseball is just different. You're talking about an early March tournament that only lasts 3 weeks. You sneeze and it's gone. So I think what they really need to do, and I think they tried to do that this year. The heads of the league pretty much reached out to each team and said, please be receptive.
Yeah.
When the general manager of the World Baseball team for USA, when they come out and say, we'd like to have this person, we'd like to have this person, we'd like to have this, please be receptive to that. But then when you look at our starting rotation, it's like, well, that's a good kind of Logan Webb aside, he's like probably the top pitcher in the rotation. And Kershaw's in there, but Kershaw's getting older. You look at the first tier of like Alek Manoah, other pitchers that aren't pitching for the Team USA, and you say, wow, it's not quite that dream team that we saw with basketball in the early 90s, where it was like every top player wanted to play. They wanted to be in that tournament in the Olympics and win that gold medal for the United States. This is kind of like, a lot of guys, but then when you look at the lineup, you go, well, Mike Trout and Mookie Betts, and you go, that's a fantastic. The lineup is going to be extremely dangerous, but the pitching is going to be the tough side of things. The, relief staff is okay. The starting pitching is okay. But the lineup is going to be where it's at. So I think that's where they're having a little bit of a hard time until they can get like the top, the actual players who are at the All-Star game. If they can get like, if you make the All-Star game, if you're voted into the All-Star game the year before the World Baseball Classic, you have an automatic invite.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's public and everybody knows that you now have an automatic invite. I wonder if that would spur things along.
Yeah.
For some of these guys to say, hey, I made it to, all eyes are on me. Do I say yes or no? It's a tough one.
There's a local marketing aspect to this that I think could be better. So for us, obviously, Logan Webb pitching on Team USA, Camilo Duvall is going to be involved. Mark DeRosa, former Giant, is going to be the manager of Team USA. The Giants, once the Giants season was over and once we failed to get Carlos Correa, I think some of the focus of the marketing of the Giants should be Logan Webb's going to be on Team USA. Like Camilo Duvall is going to be in the WBC. And they could have helped. Like, I think if all the teams kind of help create a little bit of momentum around this, then you're really, really looking forward to it. And this doesn't have to be a Team USA thing. It's about every single team that players are on. I think the Mets have like a ridiculous number of players that are going to be on all the teams in the WBC. So, hey, and maybe they think that if they do that, there won't be as much support for spring training. I guess I could see that a little bit, but man, let's hype this thing up. I think it helps everybody. I think it helps create some names for some players, who may not be as well known as some of their counterparts. Like Marcus Stroman was the MVP in 2017, right? Like
Yeah.
that was a little bit of a coming out party for him. And last year we were talking about, the Giants need to sign Marcus Stroman. He would be a nice arm. And so, he showcased himself a little bit in 2017. So I want to see the league and some of the teams get behind this a little bit more, because I just think it's a fascinating thing. Everybody who's a baseball fan should be interested in this tournament. And I don't feel like there is even half as much interest, at least in the US, with the WBC as there are in the local teams.
Yeah. And I wonder if a lot of that has to do with technically there are no official announcements of what the rosters are, but you can go to Wikipedia and you could look at, every player that has committed. But still here we are. What are we? January 22nd today. And we're probably 5-6 weeks away from this thing starting. The teams are going to get together. 23rd. Yeah. The teams are going to get together soon and start practicing. Probably, I think pitchers and catchers report to the Giants in 22 days. I mean, we're getting awfully close to that. So I think, Webb and Camilo Duvall, those guys are going to go off and start, participating in practices with their World Baseball Classic teams. So I think once official announcements are made, I think at that point you might start to see that marketing a little bit more. But yeah, there needs to be a gigantic marketing push. The World Baseball Classic website is really cool. There's, right on the front page, there's the tournament pools, there's the dates, there's, when the championship game is and everything else. There's cool video, there's cool interviews. Mike Trout does a really nice interview on there. So they're kind of pushing it, but I don't think they can do anything official yet. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to get there. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's a really cool website. They did a great job with it. I'm excited. I know you're excited. I know us as baseball fans, it's like, this is meaningful baseball in March.
Absolutely.
That's all you have to say to me. Hey, Brad, do you want to see meaningful baseball in March with lots of emotion and some big moments? Yeah, I'd like to see that in January too. Give it to me at any time of the year. I don't really care. So I know we're pretty geeked about this whole thing.
Yeah. So if we look at the bracket here, so Team USA starts off against Great Britain on a Saturday, and then they play Mexico the very next day on a Sunday. And I'm going to try to go. Like, it's in Phoenix. My kid goes to school in Tucson. My parents live in Tucson. My sister lives in Tucson. That's about a 90-minute drive. So I'm thinking about trying to figure out how to go. Now, it'd be cool if my wife wanted to come, but she'd probably be like, I get a break.
And then you're not going to be here for a while.
Like, oh yeah, you go watch your baseball, and I'll sit here and call up some friends and do some stuff. But yeah, man, like, because it's so close. If it was, because you see the championships are in Miami. Now, I'm not going to Miami to watch the BBC, but gosh, I would. Phoenix is a quick flight. Even if I got to make the drive, I've made that drive before to Tucson. It's an all day kind of thing, but it's still doable. And yeah, I talked to my son, JJ. I sent him a note seeing if he was interested in going, if he could get some time off of work at his golf resort that he works at. And he said he could. So I'm going to try and make it happen. We'll see. Got a lot of stuff coming up in these next couple months, but if I can sneak away for a weekend, I think it'd be really fun to just watch a couple of baseball games.
What I would like to see, and looking at those pools, and this is how it's been in the World Baseball Classic for the last couple of time, for all of them for that matter. But you got Pool A that's in Taiwan.
Yes.
Pool B is in Japan. Pool C is in the US, and Pool D is in the US. Like in the World Cup for soccer, if we can get all of the teams in one location, possibly the United States, because the United States is baseball. So if you could do that every 4 years, gather all of the teams in the United States, then have a draw for the pools, because this is not a true draw for the pools. This is
Yes.
more of a who is in that area that can play against each other, like USA, Mexico, Canada. Mix those teams up, make a true pool. 4 pools out of this, and this is 20 teams. In the past, it's all been 16 teams.
Right.
So they've expanded by 4, so that's good. We get more teams, but one less game if you go to the championship game, which is odd. Play everybody twice. Extend it out a little bit. We'll never get that though because of pitching concerns.
Yeah, they don't want to burn out some of their guys. And,
No,
and
we'll
imagine
get
if
to
they
that.
lost
Yeah.
to somebody in injury, that would be the end of it.
And
all.
that's not anything we've seen yet. So luckily, and hopefully that continues that way. I've got some pitching numbers too from 2017 we can go over just real quick too. But I'd love to see a mixing of the pools and get everybody into one place. I mean, when you play the Little League World Series, everybody comes here and plays in one place. So you could do it. It's not it's not impossible. And we've seen it in the World Cup. You get more teams in this in the World Cup. You get 30 something teams. So, of soccer. So you can do it. It can be done. But
so how does this work? I know they've changed the rules seemingly every year as far as how it works with all of the rounds. Do you know how it works this year for all of the rounds? Because I know sometimes they do double elimination, and then other times they've done kind of like the College World Series. How does the College World Series do it?
Yeah, the College World Series does a just kind of a crazy round robin. I've never even round robin, but it is. I mean, it's one that's kind of tough to follow, and then you get a 2 out of 3 when you get to the final series, which is always kind of the way to do it. So this is the pool play is you play everybody once, and then you get points for a win. Just kind of like you do in soccer. The top 2 teams make it out of each pool. Then when you go to the quarters, it's a game, one game. Then you go to the semis, it's one game. Then you go to the championship, it's one game. So that's what I'm saying. If you could get pool play to be against everybody twice and then go 1-1-1, or you play everybody once in the pool, then when you go to the quarters, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2. But now you're extending it, and this is more of a this is more of a fun tournament and a showcase tournament.
Yeah.
And in soccer, the World Cup it's for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, when your country wins, Argentina right now is holding that for the next 4 years over the rest of the world, and all of the world plays soccer. That's a bragging rights huge thing. How many times have you seen somebody walk around with a World Baseball Cup USA Championship T-shirt in the last 6 years? I mean, I have I've got my USA Baseball shirt, but that's just USA Baseball. It's not I probably couldn't even find a World Baseball Classic Championship T-shirt.
Okay, so I was looking for some stuff over the weekend. Where's the merch? I want to buy a hat. I want to buy a Team USA hat. I want to buy a Team Japan hat as well. And I can't tell if the websites that I'm finding on Google are like the legit merch selling websites.
Yeah.
Because then if I buy that hat and I realize, oh, that was like 6 years ago hat.
Exactly.
So I want like that isn't readily available as far as I can tell. Like, I don't know who the right merchant is to buy some stuff, because
I'm going to send you the link right now. You can put it up if you want. I mean, we're not affiliated with these guys at all, but it's a place we go to buy. I mean, I go to buy my stuff. Baseballism.
Is this only for Team USA though?
Yeah. So only for Team USA. I don't even think Fanatics has any of this stuff. They might, and it might be a collaboration with Baseballism. But if you wanted to find like a Team Japan T-shirt, Team Mexico hat, I'm not exactly sure where to get that stuff. But all of the USA stuff is Baseballism.
Okay,
that is the official collaboration this year with Team USA. This hat I got from Baseballism years ago, and it's not a Team USA hat, but it's a USA Baseball hat. So I wear that one. And then my USA Baseball T-shirt got for Christmas this year from them. But yeah, I wouldn't even know where to go to get stuff from any other team.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the World Baseball Classic website that you were just on. I mean, it's
The,
possible.
the MLB, yeah, the MLB one. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look deeper, but basically, you're proving my point in that it shouldn't be that hard.
It shouldn't be that hard.
Like
man.
we should just
Yeah.
be able to. And here's the Team USA hat. One of the hats. They have a couple different ones.
There you go.
So with that US logo and the star in the background. So I'm definitely gonna get a hat for Team USA. I'm definitely gonna gonna search for at least as far as I can, as much as I can, with the Japan one as well. But did you hear? So Mike Trout was interviewed on the website, the World Baseball Classic website, and I think he's playing. It sounds like he's playing. I hope he's healthy.
He's committed. Yes.
So he said that he was talking to Ohtani, and Ohtani was telling him that Ohtani's not even the best player on Team Japan.
I've heard about a kid.
That's scary to me.
Yeah, there is a kid, and I say kid because he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I gotta find his name again. But here's speaking of Team Japan, just a funny aside. But Lars Nootbaar from the St. Louis Cardinals is on Team Japan.
How?
I don't. He must be a Japanese.
I need to look this up.
Yeah, he's got to have some sort of Japanese background. But Seiya Suzuki's on the team. Masataka Yoshida, outfielder, newly signed by the Boston Red Sox. Let me see if I can find the name, but I know this kid is 20 years old. Okay. Now he's 21. Roki Sasaki is apparently like the newest Japanese sensation. Pitches for the Chibolat Marines in the Japanese league. He was 12-6 last year with 2.10 ERA and 241 strikeouts. I mean, Japan is just jam-packed with talent every year. So if Team USA gets to play them again, that's an all-time classic game.
Yeah.
And that whole game is on YouTube. That was one of the semifinal games. USA against Japan, where Adam Jones robbed the home run, reached over the fence, robbed the home run. That game was played in San Diego. That place was nuts. The atmosphere during that game was just absolutely insane. So if you've never seen World Baseball Classic games, please, please, please watch them this year. The pool play is going to be fun. Certain teams is going to be more fun than others. But when you get to the semifinal games and they're all in Miami and you get the top teams there and you get the fans of those teams there, it is going to be like party atmosphere. It is like World Cup soccer. If you've ever seen those games, that atmosphere is just absolutely insane. It's going to be so much fun.
Lars Nootbaar, according to Wikipedia, was born to an American of Dutch, English, and German descent, his father, Charlie, and a Japanese mother.
Well, there you go.
Kumi Inokita.
All
Lars Nootbaar. I had no idea.
Yeah, when I was looking at Wikipedia today, I was scrolling through and that name stuck out because I was looking at the players that were from the US, the US League, Major League Baseball. And I was like, wow, Lars Nootbaar on Japan. That's a new one.
All right. Did you have some stats? Did you have some stats you wanted to drop before we get out of here?
Yeah. And then the Panamanian team is jam-packed with minor leaguers here in the United States. So that, again, you're going to get a lot of minor league talent in these games for some of the other countries. But when it comes to the United States, it's all major league talent. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Because, again, like you said, this is an all-star team. Trevor Story had committed, but now he's having shoulder surgery, so
Yeah.
he's going to be out.
I heard
But
they're trying to get McNeil, right? Jeff McNeil.
Jeff McNeil, yeah, I think he was reached out to, and I think they're going to get him. He's not on this list, but again, we don't have an official roster yet. But when you look at, I mean, when you look at guys, hitters on the U.S. baseball team, you're looking at Real Muto, Will Smith, Paul Goldschmidt. He just won the MVP this year. Pete Alonso, Nolan Arenado, Bobby Witt Jr., Tim Anderson, Trey Turner, Cedric Mullins, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker, Kyle Schwarber. I mean, this is DeRosa could put together some nasty lineups.
It's a really good team if you get all of those guys for sure. It may be a little heavy on power and they may be a little light on speed, but
yeah.
I mean, Mookie Betts, he's like the ultimate guy who fits anywhere. So unfortunately, he's a Dodger, but
exactly. Yeah. But not for those 3 weeks. He's
right.
Not a Dodger.
We can root for him, right? That's in the
that's
playbook.
it.
We could root for Mookie Betts during
he's
the
wearing
WBC.
it. He's wearing a different uniform, so it's okay. So yeah, just looking at numbers, just because I was kind of curious, like, is there anything to worry about with Logan Webb pitching in the World Baseball Classic? And I have to say, there's not.
Okay.
Because when I look at the numbers, Marcus Stroman, Danny Duffy, and Pat Neshek were the guys who got the most innings in the 2017 World Baseball Classic. So Stroman pitched. He had 3 starts, 15 and a third innings. He didn't really go more than 4 or 5 innings per start. And also, in the article that we read from Ken Rosenthal, Mark DeRosa did say, if a team says this guy is pitching 60 innings or 60 pitches,
yeah,
and no more than 60 pitches, that's what it is. When he hits pitch number 60, we're pulling him.
He's
out. It could be a 2-1 count, and he's coming out.
And there are pitch limits in the first round games. A pitcher cannot go further than 65. In the second round, it's 80, and in the championship round, it's 95. So bullpens are big time important in the WBC.
Yeah, so you could probably carry more guys in the bullpen. I don't know what the roster limits are, but once the roster officially comes out, we'll kind of see all of that stuff. But yeah, Stroman threw 15 and a third in the Classic, 2.35 ERA, 0.91 WHIP in his 3 starts. And then that season, he went on to throw 201 innings, had a 3.09 ERA, a 1.3 WHIP, a 145 ERA plus, which was at that point the second highest of his career. Finished 8th in Cy Young voting, pitched in 33 games, all of them 33 starts. So, that's a good sign. You throw 15 and a third innings in, across 3 games. You're not taxing arms when you're looking at this. Pat Neshek, probably the most used. Well, there was another most used reliever, but I don't want to talk about him because he's a dirtbag. So we're just going to talk about it. I'm sure you can see on the numbers. I just don't want to talk about him. But Pat Neshek threw 5 innings in 5 games, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Then he went on that season to throw in 71 games, 62 and a third innings, 1.59 ERA, 290 ERA plus. That was the highest of his career. So even though he pitched in 5 games out of the 8 games, he only pitched 5 innings. Danny Duffy, another starter. He had 2 starts, only threw 8 innings, 1.13 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, had 2 starts. Then that season, he did have an oblique injury, but it happened at the end of June, May, I think it was. Missed all of June that season, but had nothing to do with any of this. So he pitched in 146 and a third innings in 24 starts, 3.81 ERA, 1.25 WHIP, 117 ERA plus, which was slightly above his career average. So again, we're not seeing any patterns of, if they pitch these high intensity innings, in the World Baseball Classic versus pitching 5 innings in a start against the Chicago Cubs in Mesa, Arizona, against AAA players. There's probably not much difference. These guys aren't, out there throwing their arms out because they know their careers. They know where their money lies. They know where their allegiance lies and what they want to do with these teams, their own teams going forward into October. So,
okay,
November.
except can I just ask for one thing?
You can.
Camilo Duvall, you throw 104-mile-per-hour exploding sinker.
Yeah.
You don't need to throw any harder than that.
No.
Just let it go. You don't need to. You don't need to. Like if you're in a big game for the Dominican Republic, and you're reaching back, you can throw 104. You don't need to go any harder than that. So that's just my worry is for these guys who throw.
I'm fine with 100.
Yeah,
I'm fine with 100. 100 in March. Don't go crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's gonna be a big fixture on our team for 2023.
For sure, man.
Okay, so as you can tell, if you stuck around listening through this WBC talk, we are going to kind of be a quasi WBC podcast for this season before the Giant. We're going to be talking spring training, and then we're going to be talking WBC for those 3 weeks in which the tournament is going to be played. And hopefully I get to see it because that's what I really want. I just want to go. I just want to see it. I just want to wear my hat and be out there and just because it's just a different experience. I really enjoyed going in 2013 with my friend Mary Walton, who's someone who follows us on Twitter and who we follow on Twitter.
I can attest to the shirt being very, very comfortable shirt. It's a cotton poly blend, which I really, really like. Nice lettering on it and everything. I'll show it again.
There you go. Team USA, baby.
Very, very nice shirt. I'm going to be in Disneyland for the semifinal and for the final. And I was in 2017.
That's good luck for Team USA.
That's what I'm thinking. And I remember getting back to the hotel each night when we were in Disneyland. The kids were 10 and 8. So we weren't doing the stay till midnight thing.
Yeah.
But we will be doing that this time because that's the last couple times we've gone. We stayed till closing because you get on all the rides and nobody's around. But I remember going back to the hotel room, cracking a beer from the mini fridge and sitting with my feet up and watching the game on my phone in 2017, really enjoying those games and having a good time. So I'm looking forward to kind of following them on my phone while I'm in Disneyland for those final, electric games.
All right. So we'll be back next week. Hopefully there's a little bit more Giants news, but even if there's not, we'll figure out something to talk about. And yeah, so again, we will be looking forward to the World Baseball Classic, which, it's only in a month and 2 or 3 weeks. So that is coming soon. Spring training is coming soon. Pitchers and catchers are reporting in sooner than you can even imagine. Yeah. And so there will be stuff going on. So Brad and I will be here every week talking Giants and the rest of Major League Baseball where we see fit. So for Brad, I'm Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.